My name is Dr. Ian Storch. I'm a board-certified gastroenterologist and osteopathic physician, and you are listening to D.O. or Do Not. If you're interested in joining our team or have suggestions or comments, please contact us at doordonotpodcast.com. Share our link with your friends and like us on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you enjoy this episode.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Cison, third year medical student, and I am one of your hosts for the DO or Do Not podcast. And today I have the tremendous honor of hosting Dr. Matthew Cannon, Campus Dean for the Carolinas campus and Senior Dean for all four campuses of the Edward Via College of Osteopathic Medicine. Dr. Cannon, hello again, and thank you so much.
It is a pleasure, Matthew. Thank you for doing this, and I am honored that you reached out and asked me to participate.
All right, so to kick off the interview, I wanted to start off with a few questions relating more so with a focus to VCOM. So could you tell us more about VCOM and what makes it unique and stand out from other osteopathic schools?
Absolutely. So I'm someone who is very passionate about VCOM. I am thrilled with what our mission is. Our mission is to be globally minded, community focused to meet the needs of rural and medically underserved populations and to promote human health through research. And the reason it's so passionate for me is that I have spent time in rural South Carolina, and that's what I practiced. And I really just value and appreciate the rural communities and also medically underserved communities. Those are the patients that I took care of for a number of years before I came into academics. And from VCOM standpoint, we really make it our mission and our purpose to serve those communities and to make a difference. And we have tremendous need in many of our states, but VCOM first started in Virginia because of the unmet need for primary care in Southwest Virginia and Virginia as a whole. But then VCOM moved south and started a campus in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is the campus that I'm at, because of the need in South Carolina. And then that need has been recognized in Alabama and Louisiana. And that's why we started our other campuses as well. But that is our purpose, and that is what we strive to do, is to meet that unmet need and to make a difference in our communities one day at a time.
That's awesome. And I think one of the greatest things about your campus is that you have several networks and several campuses. And do you find that amongst these campuses, the curriculums are different with regards to preclinical education? Is there anything unique with that education across different campuses?
Sure. There's not. We are accredited as one college with four campuses. And so we have the same curriculum. We have the same topics. We have the same learning objectives, and they're conducted in the same manner. Now, you have a different professor at each campus. He or she, as your professor, will be teaching things from his or her style of the way that they create their PowerPoints. But as far as the topics and learning objectives, they are all the same across the board. Credit hours, everything. And we actually have a calendar that is the calendar for all campuses. And so we'll tweak things a little bit, and maybe the anatomy or the physiology is better taught on Monday or Tuesday on this campus, is better taught on Wednesday or Thursday on that campus based on campus needs and the students, the faculty, and whatnot. But as far as everything else, it is exactly the same. The uniqueness that I find about VCOM is just the different approach that we have, and something that I was interviewing students today who were applicants wanting to come in, and they were asking me, what is unique about VCOM? And the uniqueness is the opportunity that we give to students, that we want to get to know you on a personal level. We want to get to know you humbly as a dean. And I would ask people to quiz me on this, but from any student from a second year through a fourth year, I know them by name. And I would dare say, so if Matthew, you were on our campus, I know you by name and know something about you, where you're from or what your interests are, what your passions are. And first years got to give me a little grace that I'm still trying to get to know all of them. I'd probably say maybe 40% by this time. But by the end of the first year, we would know them all by name. And it makes a difference. It makes you feel that you're part of the family, you're part of the team, that you aren't just a number, that you are valued, you're respected, you're appreciated. And when I see you in the hallway, I'll be able to say, Matthew, how are you doing? Did you see that college football game this weekend? Or, how's your research coming? Or so on and so forth, so that we get to know you and that you feel included and you're part of the bigger picture, which is the family of VCOM, but also the family of medicine. And we need to make sure that it's a teamwork effort, that medicine is not just a unilateral or an individual approach. It requires a team.
Right. And Dr. Cannon, I think that's such an amazing take, and something that is great that you endorse about VCOM. And, especially as a former pre-medical student looking to apply to medical school, you kind of have this predisposition of, hey, am I just a number? Like, how do I roll out against other applicants? And it's nice to hear that, a dean, such a high status professor, would say, like, hey, you know what? I do know this person by first name or even nickname. And it's great to hear that. And it's great for our listeners, many of which are prospective medical students, can say, hey, VCOM has that over there. And that's great, especially so as a medical student on rotations now. It's nice to hear that you're kind of at VCOM endorsing or helping to grow this holistic, humanistic mindset and framework for all the students. I think it definitely works towards better patient care and teamwork. And if I wanted to ask more about the student population at VCOM, are many of the students in state or out of state, or what's the general population like?
That's a great question, Matthew. We generally try to keep 50%. So we're the Carolinas campus. So we will get at least 50% from North or South Carolina. The other 50% will be from our target region, generally from Western Pennsylvania down through the Appalachian region into Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. We have a lot from Florida, and then branching into Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and then up through the Delta region into Arkansas. That's our target region. And I would say 95% of our students come from there. There are a few that will come from out of the region, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, South Dakota, one or two from California, Texas, things like that. So actually Texas for the Louisiana campus is heavily targeted as well. But for my campus, it's just more through that general region. So we do have from across the United States, but I would say 95% through the target area of the Appalachian Delta region, and then 50% from North or South Carolina for my state. Same for Auburn. Alabama would be 50% from Alabama, 50% from outside. Same with Virginia.
That's great. As an osteopathic school, how would you say that VCOM emphasizes osteopathy, especially during the students' preclinical years? Do a lot of students get a lot of hands-on interactive opportunities, and how is osteopathy emphasized throughout their time?
So hands-on starts on week 1. As soon as you're there, we're going to have OMM lab. And we're going to start with basic palpation. Just what are you looking for, and what is your mindset, and how are you going to approach patients? And we believe that it's important. How often do you hear someone say, I went to the doctor and the doctor didn't even examine me, didn't even touch me? And you always want to maintain, and we teach and we demand professionalism and dignity and respect. But learning to appropriately diagnose and treat with your hands, starting with week 1 and getting comfortable with that diagnostic skills. So week 1, you're going to have OMM lab, but osteopathic medicine is the holistic approach. We're looking at things from a mind, body, spirit approach, and you're looking at it from a holistic way in that it encompasses all of your curriculum. So we're going to look at things from a holistic manner on day 1, and anything from how you look at your basic core curriculum, looking at your clinical medicine courses, your anatomy and your physiology and your pathology. You want to make sure that you incorporate the whole and show your students that optimal care comes from knowing the whole patient. And you're looking at being not reactive to disease, but being proactive to disease. And in order to be proactive, you need to know all aspects. And so when we're taking care of someone, knowing the root cause, knowing the etiology of what the symptoms are, but then knowing what wellness is and how do you approach wellness and how do you maintain wellness, that's what we're going to look at. And then when you look at disease, you want to look at the whole patient, and you never say that's a patient with diabetes, or there's a hypertensive in room 2, or there's someone with hyperlipidemia or diabetic in room 3. There is Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Jones, who happens to have these, but I want to get to know Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Jones or Mr. Johnson, whoever it may be, from where do they work? What is their stress like? What is their home like? What is their diet like? Are they exposed to different pesticides in their work? Are they exposed to different air pollutants in their work? I want to know the whole person so I can best take care of them. What are their financial status? What is their education status? I feel I can better take care of them knowing the entire person, and that involves osteopathic medicine and looking at things from a perspective of how do I optimize health. And we always have medicines that we can use, but optimally, what do to optimize health and maintain health initially, not simply treating disease.
Dr. Kane, I think that's a great answer. And I think having that framework really sets students up for success, not only in their preclinical years, having that holistic and whole body mindset, whole patient mindset, but I think it really sets them up for success beyond that, especially as future physicians. And kind of down that route, follow up, a lot of what students' education, a major component of that is really these national board exams, including the COMLEX and the USMLE STEP. How does VCOM really set their students up for success with that regard to the board exams?
Very good question. And one, I do believe in the COMLEX. I believe strongly in the COMLEX and its validity of proving that all of our medical students that pass the COMLEX are going able to get into the general population and provide care. But to answer your question, how do we prepare? We prepare them by first, we take MBOME writing questions. We have every one of our faculty take the item writing questions and make sure that they know how to write board style questions. And then we also have something on each of our campuses where it's a vetting process where we will have people that have been experienced and have a lot of knowledge from either being an item writer for MBOME or that have just had a plethora of experience in medical education where you can write a very good board style question. We actually have groups every week that we will meet, and faculty will come in and will put their questions on a board, basically on a screen, and we will scrutinize it. And we will look at it and we will say, how can you write this better? What is your stem? What is your lead in? What are your distractors? What is your appropriate answer? And what are the reasons that the others aren't appropriate? And how do we write the best question? And you have to really leave your ego at the door and say, okay, 10 of my questions are going to be evaluated today, and we're going to be tearing them apart, but it's intended to make you a better writer of questions. And so when our faculty become well vetted at that and the questions are well vetted, then we're able to administer those onto our exams. And by having board style questions on each of our exams that we give throughout the curriculum for the first 2 years, it helps to prepare our students. And then VCOM does our own board review program that we have, that our faculty come together and are able to write a very comprehensive board review process. So you go through the first 2 years, and then before the boards, you actually go through this required board review process that our VCOM faculty has put together. And that has resulted in exceptional board pass rates. I'm just pleased to say that this year alone, we have 2 of our campuses in the 99th percentile on first time pass rate, 100th percentile on second pass rate, on second time taking it. And one of the classes was in the 98th percentile. And then the other one is sitting at 98. They have a few more students to test right now, so we haven't got their final results yet. But to have so far all 4 campuses 98th or 99th percentile and one campus with just a few more to test, it shows that the proof in the pudding, that the process is working very well.
Dr. Kanan, that's amazing to hear. And that's such great news, and congrats to that. And you should be proud and honored to have those stats and have a strong class and a strong network surrounding you. So kudos to you.
It's kudos to the students. The students are the ones doing the work. And I tell them all the time that there's no elevator to success. You have to take the steps, one step at a time. And you work when the lights are off. You're doing your work now when nobody's watching so that you'll have the answers later. But we want them to invest and trust in the process and know that what we're providing them in curriculum is going to result in exceptional performance on the boards, and more importantly, exceptional performance in the clinical setting where you're taking care of patients.
That's great. And so as a sidestep, in addition to the students' general medical education, what do you find most students kind of delving into in terms of extracurriculars? Do you find a lot of students engaging in research, volunteering?
All of the above. Absolutely, Matthew. I believe in having our students be present in the community. we want all the people in our community to know who VCOM is and know what VCOM is doing, and know that we have students that are built on good character and good integrity, and they have a heart of compassion. They have a heart of service that they want to give back. And I believe, I would dare say, I wouldn't quote this, but roughly when we have a sign-up sheet for a community activity, within 4 or 5 minutes, it's full. It might be 50 students, but it is full within 4 or 5 minutes when we send it out.
Awesome.
And so it might be working at a soup kitchen, just administering meals to homeless. It might be going and performing sports physicals with some of our physicians, with some local high schools. It might be going to a nursing home and providing care. It might be going to do outpatient health and wellness checks. It might be, we have a mobile unit. And so our mobile unit is an RV, basically a doctor's office on wheels. And we will go to rural communities to where there's no one that reaches them. And a lot of these people, they don't have the means for transportation to get out, or they don't have the money to go and seek care, or they don't know how to get to the free access clinics and things of that nature. And so our mobile unit will go out, provide care to them, and then get them connected either with a hospital system or with a free clinic system, or with different opportunities through grant funding that they have, special grants for communities to provide care. It was essentially a free clinic, but it's through a different process that's funded through grants. And the outreach is just nonstop. There isn't a single week that goes by that we don't have outreach activities taking place. And it could be anything from A to Z, but that's what I really find that our students value the most. Is you want to be able to put your work into practice, but we want to do it safely. And so we always have our physicians every time. It never takes place that a student goes without a physician. So a physician is always there from VCOM, but the students want to get out of the classroom and to do things. And so by being able to, one thing that just popped in my head is that an equestrian center that works with autistic children and those that are either deaf or blind, and we do equestrian therapy. And so our students will go out and build relationships with these beautiful individuals and help them with whatever it may be, with someone who's blind, getting comfortable being on a horse and learning to trust the horse. And while you're there to help them to be safe while they're on the horse, but also to build that relationship. And so, I mean, those are just one of many examples that we have that the students are able to get out of the classroom and to what we call bloom where you're planted, to be the best version of yourself.
That's phenomenal. And it's great to hear that you're cultivating such a nurturing environment where people can really go out and practice what they're passionate about. And that's amazing. And do you find that happening across all of the students across all the years?
It does. Absolutely. I find that it is happening so routinely. I will go and sign up a trip that will go to a local community, and I look and I see that we have a research month in our 3rd and 4th year. And during that research month, you would think that maybe they're doing a lot of research, but it doesn't have to be 24 hours a day. And so they will come and give 4 hours of their time and assist as a 3rd year on their research month and doing things in the community with the chaperoning of one of our physicians. But there's 10 or 15 other students that happen to be 2nd years. Or we're out giving vaccines. Again, we train the students first, make sure they can do it through our procedural skills class, make sure they're well vetted and they've signed off. And then we have the physician there with them to make sure that they do things safely and effectively. But it is something that it goes through all 4 years. And it really is a joy to see the students that they want to continue giving back to the community.
That's awesome, Dr. Cannon. And so I want to sidestep towards, in addition to this importance of preclinical education, a lot of students are curious to know about VCOM's clinical education. Now, could you shed some light on rotations during clinical years at VCOM, and how do you prepare your students for this next and up and coming phase?
Several things. One is we have during the 2nd year, we have things called early clinical experiences. And what that means is we have gone out and we have vetted this scenario or this process that you're going to take place in. For instance, like we will go and send students to an ICU and they will work with a nurse, basically shadowing, but work with someone to see and gain ICU experience during their 2nd year. Then the next week they would go to a free clinic and work with our physicians taking care of patients where you're the doctor, you're the one that's providing the care, again, with supervision. The next week they will go and maybe work at a Friday night football game as a sports medicine physician on the sidelines. And then the next week, they will work with a pharmacist or a PharmD in the hospital setting, or we do things at the school where we create scenarios. And then the next week, they will work in the simulation lab, which is available for the students Monday through Friday. But as far as we will do scenarios and have them run codes and work through the different medications that they would use and how to do things, and we will flip something up on them so that they don't expect it. And we want you to make your mistakes there so that you won't make mistakes later. We believe that you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. And when you mess up in the simulation lab, you're going to learn from that, and you're going to learn how not to do that same mistake again. And we want to have the opportunities to do this over and over again. I'm getting on a sidetrack there, so I apologize. But going back to the clinical experiences, and so those are early clinical experiences, and we have 18 of those throughout your second year on Fridays. And then for inside the walls of VCOM, we're going to go through and do standardized patients. And with the standardized patients, we're going to critique you, and we're going to look at your video, and we're going to show you what you did very well. And we're also going to show you what you could have done better. It would be everything from your physical exam skills to your history taking, to your review of systems, to your differential diagnosis, to your treatment plan. It's going to also be your humanistic skills. How did you make the patient feel? They might sometimes forget what you said, but they're never going to forget how you made them feel. And so we want to make sure that we are working from a humanistic perspective. And we have a clinical psychologist who has her doctorate, and she is there 40 hours a week to help students, one, with things that, life still happens in medical school. And so you might need help with anxiety or depression or different life events that happen to you or your family during the course of medical school. She's there for that, but she's also there to teach humanistic skills and to make sure that you're well equipped by the time you go into the clinical setting. In addition to those two aspects, we have mission trips where we will send you on an international trip during your second year, where you have enough knowledge and that you go and you work with our physicians in the Dominican Republic, in 2 locations in Honduras, Tegucigalpa or Santa Rosa. And you gain more clinical knowledge and experience there. And so through the standardized patients, through the early clinical experiences, through the mission trips, and through our local outreach that we do domestically as well, then that prepares our students very well to perform in the clinical setting. But in the clinical setting, we have, for our third years, we have core rotation sites. So we have 14 locations where we have a DSME, Director of Student Medical Education, as well as a site coordinator. And that DSME is a physician at that site. And we have a department chair and an associate dean that oversees all the clinical experiences. And so we make sure that our basic core requirement rotations are done, but done with oversight and done with very well vetted physicians who know what you need to know at that time. How do you educate a first rotation third year student is very different than how you educate a 10th rotation third year student. And so all of our faculty and our physicians in these different sites around the states of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida, they know what to expect at those stages. And that further helps you to prepare during your third year. And then we get into fourth year, and then you go on audition rotations and from there. But hopefully that answers your question, Matthew.
That's phenomenal. I mean, I think it answers a lot of the questions that I wish, I kind of questioned myself when I was looking into rotations when I first started. And it's phenomenal to hear that VCOM really has in place a system that kind of helps ease in your students towards clinical side of things and applying themselves clinically beyond the books and the libraries and the tests to kind of like the real world. And it's amazing to hear that it's something that's gradual, and it's awesome to hear students going out and doing the thing. As a follow-up to that, for your graduating students, what kind of specialties do you find them matching into, and do they tend to stay in-state or local or going abroad across the country?
So another great question, Matthew. So thank you for asking that. So we have a match rate that's essentially it's 100% for all of our campuses for the history of VCOM. The only reason I say essentially is we have had a few students that choose that they don't want to match. Like I've had some that said, I've had one on our campus that said, I'd rather be a teacher. I want to go and teach. I want to go straight into teaching in a college realm, and different things that have happened in their life that, and I don't want to get into this individual circumstances, but things that happened that this is what they wanted to do. But since they didn't go through and participate in the match and get a match, then there wasn't 100% match rate. But for those that have wanted it, we get that. And there have been one or two that really wanted a very, very competitive field, for instance, like orthopedic surgery. And they didn't get that. And so they went through the SOAP process and they wanted to stick with orthopedic surgery. And then if there wasn't anything available, then they wanted to stick with surgery. And we have opportunities for them in other fields, be it family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, other fields, and they know I want to do this. There's been 2 or 3 of those, but essentially 99.5 or 99.99% have all matched. But go back to your question, what do they go into? So I'd say 60 to 70% of our graduates go into primary care. We define primary care as internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, or OBGYN. And so roughly we have 162 students at our campus. And so out of those 162, we have 60 to 70% annually go into those primary care fields. So the other 30 to 40% will go into other fields, but generally it's going to be emergency medicine are the next ones. And then second to that would be general surgery. And then after that, neurology has been very common here lately. And also one that's been more popular in the last 2 or 3 years is psychiatry. And so those are the fields our students are going to go into. Now, we will have some that go into neurosurgery or anesthesia or radiology or fields like that. And we absolutely can. And you're going to have the faculty embrace you and help you get that field if that's what you want. And we will strive and do our very best to help you reach your goals. Like I said before, bloom where you're planted to be the best version of yourself. And we want to help you to do that. But to answer your question, most of the 60 to 70% will go into primary care. And then as far as where they go, yes, we have a number of them stay in the states of North and South Carolina. So just speaking from our campus, I would say I know from the data from the last 2 years, we have roughly about 70 of the students will stay, 60 to 70 will stay in the state of North or South Carolina. And then the others will go in our target region. I would say about 90% plus will go to residencies in that target region of the Appalachian and Delta region of the United States. And there's a few that they want to go for various reasons. Maybe they've been able to get a very prestigious program. We had just in the 22 class, and just that class alone, we had people matching in Yale and in Stanford and other places like that for very prestigious residency programs. And so it's not in our target region, but they're still getting high profile programs. Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic, those are others that might be out of that target Appalachian. Vast majority of them stay inside that target region that I've discussed.
Dr. Cannon, that was a phenomenal response. And I think, in talking about VCOM's preclinical education, where it leads to in terms of osteopathy and how it leads to in the clinical education, where I might go or, prospective students might go, I think you've built a really great case to what VCOM stands for and what a potential student at VCOM can get and what we could look to when applying to VCOM. Thank you for that. Now, one final question about VCOM. What advice would you give to prospective students who are looking to attend VCOM, or in the broader sense, looking to become osteopathic physicians?
I'll start with the aspect of the question for attending VCOM, then I'll branch into all osteopathic physicians in schools. So advice I give to prospective students is, one, look at the mission. Look at what you want to do. I want schools, and I believe I can say that the osteopathic schools, they really stick to their mission. And so what is your why? What do you want to do? Why do you want to practice medicine? Why do you want to make a difference in individuals' lives? Why do you want to spend time studying now? And the payment comes later, meaning not financial payment, but just the reward. Right now, a lot of your colleagues and your peers are going to be finishing undergraduate school, and they're going to be going into the workforce. They're going to be making money, and oftentimes you'll look back and say, wow, I'm paying money and they're making money, and the reward comes later. And so you have a reason and a why of what you want to accomplish and why you want to go into medicine. And so take time to yourself and ask, what is my why and what am I looking for? And then go to schools that are going to help you meet that why. And they're going to help you. I've said this before, but I really do believe it's true, is help you to bloom where you're planted, to become the best version of yourself. You want to go to a school that's going to help you to flourish, help you to thrive, help you to spread your wings and fly and be that person that you know that you are, that you want to give to the world. We hear so often about this imposter syndrome. And what I want to tell the students is, you have it inside you. You have that drive. You have that passion. You have that initiative, and do it. Take the time, the effort, the energy, and do it. Surround yourself with good people and know that you can do this and pick the school that's going to best fit you, your personality, your needs, and your why. As far as VCOM, I really believe that we have it figured out as far as what we can do and how we can help you achieve those goals. And every campus is unique in its own way. But I believe you're going to find, I can speak for the Carolinas campus in saying that you're going to find faculty and administration and staff that are going to help you to become that best version of yourself. And they're going to embrace the process from wherever you're at. And you're going to find it's unique. But I would encourage students to reach out to the current students. Don't trust just me saying it. Talk to the first years, the second years, the third years, fourth years, and find out, is it true? Do we have a community? Do we have a culture, an atmosphere where you are valued, you're respected, you're appreciated, and you're having people help you to get where you want to be? And then as far as the answer to the osteopathic profession, I wholeheartedly believe in osteopathic medicine. I value it. I respect it. I try to live it. I have two relatives, two family members that are MDs, and I have the utmost respect for them, the utmost respect. But I believe that osteopathic profession has a uniqueness to it that is special, that needs to be recognized and needs to be appreciated. And when you have an osteopathic curriculum where your curriculum is based on all of what osteopathic medicine means. We have a very, very intense curriculum on osteopathic manipulative medicine, and we can help you to diagnose with your hands, to treat with your hands. But the osteopathic approach is much bigger than that. And that's what we do, and that's what osteopathic schools do and osteopathic physicians do. And I encourage all students who want to become physicians to look at all the osteopathic medical schools, because you're going to find your right niche, your right fit, and you're going to be glad you did.
Dr. Cannon, that's awesome. And I think it really opens up and answers a lot of the questions, not just the medical student applicants, but just it could be like medical students and osteopathic physicians in general, really kind of bringing to light the importance of osteopathy and saying like, hey, what kind of skill set do we bring to the field of medicine? How can we be contributing members to the team? And it's really great to hear that throughout this entire conversation so far, you've really shown, hey, this is what we're made of, and this is kind of how we bring to light these students here at our school. And it's amazing to hear this phrase that you've been saying, bloom where you're planted. And I mean, it's a great phrase. It's sticking, and that's amazing.
I will want to speak just one thing. I was just at a meeting with ACOM and American Association of Colleges of Osteopathic Medicine. I had the pleasure of being with each of the deans. And I just want to take the time quickly just to say that each of these schools have phenomenal deans, but more importantly, they have phenomenal people. And these people are who make the difference. And the leaders that they have at each of the schools, they truly are phenomenal. They have been well vetted, they've been picked, they've been selected, and you're going to get a phenomenal education and trust the osteopathic profession to deliver.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that brings to light, one of the talking points that when I get asked about medical schools, it's important about the medical school I attended, or how did I go about choosing things. And I think one of the answers I kind of go back to the most is really saying, hey, it really boils down to the community and the people that you're with, and how you find yourself blooming within that community, and how you find your own niche. And I think that's important. And I think, VCOM really stands to have an opportunity to say like, hey, I as a student could really grow and nourish and become a strong physician. And I think that's something that, all students should really prioritize when they're saying, hey, I want to go to medical school. I want to become a physician. Where should I go? And it's really just looking at the stats and just looking about the location isn't really the whole picture. It's really about, hey, what kind of community at the end of the day will I be surrounded by? And it's great to hear that VCOM has that.
Well said. I think you said that very well.
So, Dr. Cannon, I want to change gears a little bit and shift the focus more towards you. So, if you don't mind, could you tell us more about yourself? Where did you grow up and where did you go for your undergrad?
Grew up in a small town in South Carolina. Greenville is Greenville County, and most people know of the city of Greenville. But I grew up in a small town called Malden. Malden is a very unique town that I just love and treasure and value. My parents are actually still living there. And as far as where I went to undergrad, I went to Clemson University. Go Tigers, for all those Tiger fans out there. And that's, again, a wonderful community. It really is, the city is the school, and you have a sense of family and community there. And whenever I travel, if I happen to be wearing a shirt or something with the paw on it, it just brings up conversation, and people will come in an airport, in a restaurant, and just say, "Hey, Clemson." So that's where I went, and I'm very proud of my undergraduate. And about myself, I want to be the best father and the best husband I can be. I have a wonderful family who supports me through all aspects of my life, and I'm very proud of them and what they do. And my daughters are just the love of my life. My wife is my best friend, and it's something that I treasure very much is family.
That's awesome. And I think that's something we should all treasure, cherish, and hold on to. And it's phenomenal that you have that. So, speaking about medicine, it's always something that we're all curious about. How and when did you become interested in medicine?
It's actually a very young age. My sisters are both nurses, and one is 10 and the other is 12 years older than me. And so when I was growing up, here you have a 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, you have a sister who is 18 or 20. And so they're in nursing school, and they come home with stories in general. And then when they are now 12, 13, 14 years old, they come home with stories from their practice of being a nurse. And so growing up, and then as I mentioned before, I have a family member, my uncle is a physician, he's a radiologist. And whenever we would get together, he would constantly be telling stories. And so my interest really sparked there. And listening to my two sisters and listening to my uncle, and then his son, my uncle's son, he is now a physician in Virginia. He's a rheumatologist. And just being surrounded by this, it was something that I really was passionate about. And I really just said, this is what I want to do. I feel that this is where I'm, just me personally, I have strong faith, and I felt that this was a calling. This is what I was meant to do. And so that's why I pursued the field of medicine.
I hear you, and I could say same thing. I feel like I totally resonate. I grew up with my father, who is a nurse. He's now a nurse anesthetist, and I kind of grew up on stories around the dinner table, hearing about what he did throughout the day, and dinner by dinner, and day by day, it really kind of just added up into me saying, "Hey, you know what? This is a pretty cool profession. This is something that I could, I really consider." And likewise, I could really say, hey, this is something that I could really see myself pursuing. And I think it's nice to hear that stories like that really just kind of in the background, kind of coming to the forefront, saying, hey, like these stories and these experiences surrounding me really brought me into medicine, really brought us into medicine. So that's great. So how did you first learn about osteopathy?
I served as a research assistant during a summer. I was still in undergrad. And during the summer, I wanted to gain some experience, wanted to try to increase my strength in my application for going to medical school. And during that experience, the very first, I was a sophomore, finishing up my sophomore year. And during that summer, I was exposed to a residency program where the physician I was working under for her clinical research, she was working with a residency program, and they had 30 residents, 10 per year. And she introduced me to them. And here I am, haven't even finished undergrad, and she's introducing me to people who've already finished medical school and they're in their residency. And so I was a little intimidated by that, but there was one DO out of the 30. And after I was introduced, this gentleman came over to me and said, hey, and he introduced himself, told me his name, and said, would you like to see some patients with me? Would you like to go through the hospital with me? You want me to show you some procedures? And I was just yes, yes, and yes. And And he, the only DO, and I didn't know that at the time. And then he told me about osteopathic medicine, told me about why he went to an osteopathic school. And there was just something about him that I just resonated with me. Like he was the only one out of 30 that came over, was approachable, was affable, was engaged in wanting to make sure that my experience was positive. So when I wasn't strictly doing research, then I had a positive experience. And the way that he spoke with patients, the way that he explained disease processes, the way that he explained treatments, the way that he showed the compassion. And I'm sure that many of the other residents did that as well, but he was the only one that really kind of took me under his wing and said, I want to make sure your experience is the best. And so I took that, and from there, I started shadowing osteopathic physicians that were already in practice. And I just felt a sense of belonging. I felt a sense of warmth and comfort. I felt a sense of they want what's best for me as a person in addition. And there's, I'm sure, many physicians out there that would do that as well. But there's just the osteopathic approach showed me that it truly was holistic. It was all encompassing. And that's what really inspired me. And so I started doing my research in osteopathic medicine. And then when it was time to apply, that was in my sophomore year. So throughout my junior year, I was learning about osteopathic medicine, worked with the osteopathic physicians during my senior year, did the same. I chose to take a gap year. I wanted to gain more knowledge and experience and feel a little more of the real world before just simply all academics. And so I took the gap year, and then I applied osteopathic. And so I was very humbly, I was accepted at more than one school, and then of osteopathic medicine. And I just said, this is what I want. And it was absolutely the best experience as far as just going into osteopathic medicine. It is a family. When I was with the board of deans this past weekend, it's a family. Everybody wants to help each other. We were sharing ideas and sharing experiences from each of our schools to help make the other schools better. And I was talking to one dean in particular that we went out and had lunch together and just sharing ideas and sharing areas that we could each improve on. And it's a wonderful environment. And I just can't say enough about the osteopathic profession.
That's awesome, Dr. Cannon. And I know you're so passionate about osteopathy, and it's very clear to see that once you're passionate about something, you might as well just go for it full strength. Did you ever consider going down the allopathic route or considering other medical schools?
I did. I did consider that because at the time, there were two allopathic schools in our state. And being from South Carolina, where I went to my first 18 years, and then I went to Clemson, which is also in South Carolina, then I thought, there's something to be said about staying here. You're close to family, close to support systems. And so I thought about it. And honestly, I thought about, well, what is the osteopathic medicine route, and what is it that's just so intriguing to me that just keeps pulling me to this other direction? And I just am someone who believes in the philosophy. I believe in the approach. I believe in the quality of education. And I'm someone that when you accept someone, you need to be all in. And I said, I'm all in. I'm not someone that's going to put 80% in and 20% out, or even 90% in and 10% out. When you do something, you need to be all in. And so I said, osteopathic medicine is what I want. And so that's where I'm going. And I'm going to apply to the schools that I thought best fit for me. And that's what I did. And I have zero regrets. And I'm actually very grateful that I did that, because the blessings that I've been given, I'm very humbled by. The osteopathic community has been very just rewarding. It's been a community and a group of individuals that have shown genuine care. They are going to push you for excellence. They're going to ask you to do better. If you're excellent this year, let's be excellent next year. But they're also going to show you that they care. And that's the part that I value.
That's great. And to just a sidestep a little bit, if you were someone who were kind of on the fence saying like, hey, should I go down the allopathic or should I go down the osteopathic route? What would you say kind of leans them, more towards like should be a consideration when they say, hey, maybe I should go towards osteopathy?
Similar to what I've said previously, is that osteopathic medicine is Andrew Taylor Still. He was an MD. And he just said at the time, things weren't working. What can I do to change what he was experiencing? And he came up with an approach that is just something that needs to be recognized and needs to be appreciated and needs to be engaged in, because when you do, you're going to see that you can provide a quality of care that is so significant and so impactful to your patients, but also you're going to learn other aspects of that holistic care. And you look at things from a mental aspect, you look at things from a physical aspect, you look at things from a spiritual aspect, and you're taught that throughout the 4 years. And then going into residency, you're able to continue to build on that. And it's something that I just think that you really need to experience. So any student out there, I encourage you to go and seek out and find an osteopathic physician, or find the osteopathic school that you want to attend and call them or go visit them and ask them, do you have people that I should shadow? Do you have people that I should speak with? Do you have people that I should use as mentors? Do you have people I should do research with? And they're going to be able to provide you those answers. And I think you're going to see just how much osteopathic medicine can provide to you, both as a student and then as a colleague once you get into practice.
Dr. Kane, I think that's such a phenomenal answer, and I think it really sheds light kind of into both fields and saying like, to answer those questions of should I do osteopathy or allopathic medicine, and I think it's a great case to, take another look at osteopathy, and hey, we have two strong cases here, you and I, as to why we should do osteopathy. Now, so you went through medical school, and after medical school, you pursued further training in family medicine. Tell us how you ended up pursuing family medicine.
It's one of these fields where when you go and you do your third year rotations in pediatrics, I really like that. I really enjoy that. And then you do your rotation in OBGYN. Well, I really like that. Then you do a rotation in psychiatry. Oh my goodness, I love that. Then you do emergency medicine. Well, I really like that. So you like them all. And it's like, well, what's out there that you're going to be able to do all of these? And family medicine is really an aspect of medicine that sometimes doesn't get the full credit it deserves, but you really need to be very well exposed and experienced and capable and competent at such a wide array of different fields in medicine that you need to be able to be well at all those. But what attracted me the most was the personal relationships, the professional, I make to emphasize that professional, personal relationship with your patients. You take care of someone from birth to grave. And it could be someone that is 3 days old. It could be someone that is 100 years old. And you have the opportunity to care for them and the tremendous responsibility of caring for someone. I've done countless numbers of well baby checks at 1 day old, 2 days old, 3 days old, 4 days old. And I've done numerous patients that are over 100 years old. And to have the knowledge and the opportunity experience to take care of all of them. And it was such a joy. And there was numerous patients in my practice that I was taking care of the grandparents, the parents, and the child. And you get to know them, and you know that family, you know where they work, you know where they go to church, you know where they go to school, you know what their interests are, you know what their children, what sports they're doing, or what types of music or what types of drama they might be involved in from a talent setting. And so you just get to know that patient and they know you. And when you see them out in the community and you'll see them at a various store or a restaurant, you're able to say hi and, I see you eating that, high fat meal. You need to watch. You remember that cholesterol? No, I'm joking. But the point being is you don't do that. I don't do that. I just welcome them and greet them and say it's such a pleasure to see them. But the point being is that the relationship that you build with your patients, you know them. And I know who are the ones that aren't going to come in unless they are really, really sick. And I know the other ones that sometimes all they're going to need is just an ear to listen and a shoulder to lean on. But once you get to know your patients that well, then you can provide the absolute best care. And that's what family medicine did for me and does for me, is allow me to develop those professional, personal relationships.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, Dr. Cannon, I just came off of my family medicine rotation actually last week, and I can wholeheartedly agree. It's been, nothing short of amazing seeing the kind of the benefits of having the ability to provide continuity of care and really see patients progress even throughout the short duration that was my rotation. It was amazing to see kind of different aspects of clinical medicine pulled together into what became one patient. And, even more than that, not just the patient, but the person. And it really feels like so much throughout, not even this conversation, but what we're taught as, whether it be in osteopathic medicine or just in the field of medicine in general, you have to treat more than the patient, you have to treat the person. And it's been a phenomenal experience to see within family medicine that you truly are treating the person. And as you've been saying, it might just be it's really not the symptoms that you're treating, but maybe, it's you're really just listening to them. And then from that, you kind of hear, oh, yes, they have a pathology that you could treat. You could give them medications, you could give them treatment, but really just having them have that shoulder to lean on, that support network, it really brings a sense of coming full circle. And it's been an amazing experience. And I think it's something that people should look forward to and consider family medicine.
Absolutely. And it's something that you'll see. And if you might have, I'd be curious if you had this experience, but some of the patients may be going, just for instance, to a neurosurgeon, or they may be going to a very specialized, like a hand surgeon or gynecology, oncology, and they're going to come back to you as their family physician and ask you, well, what's your opinion? What should I do? And the reason they do that is because they trust you, and you built that relationship and you built that rapport. And here you're going to a very highly specialized subspecialist who has spent many, 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 many years, he or she, in residency and fellowship and training. And they still want to come back to you and say, but you're my doctor. What do you think I should do? And that's the beauty of family medicine, is that you have that relationship, that they trust you and they want you to come back and ask for your opinion. And so that's something that is just a beauty of family medicine that I value.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of unspoken when you consider the different specialties and really understanding that, hey, what do the patients see and, what do the patients come to and who do the patients come back to? Now, to kind of take a step back and come back to your own personal journey, how was your residency application process? Where did you end up training?
I ended up training in Spartanburg, South Carolina, where the school is. And so after I was out of state, there wasn't an osteopathic school in South Carolina at the time that I went to medical school. And so I went to one out of state, and then I wanted to come back. I valued the environment and the culture of South Carolina. And so I applied to numerous residency programs around this area and was able to get my top choice of Spartanburg for Center for Family Medicine in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And upon finishing my third year there, I then started working for the hospital. Excuse me. So I was owned by the hospital, but working out in an area about 7-8 miles away from the hospital. And so did that for a number of years. But the exposure to various programs it's really what you want, where you want it. And so if you're going into a very highly specialized field and the competitiveness is extremely high, then you're going to need to cast your net much wider. If you're going to a field where you have a lot and you perform well in medical school, then you can focus on a more target region. And so I was able to humbly have the opportunity to focus on a specific region of where I wanted to be. And there are numerous programs in that region. And then you take the time to interview there, and they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. And you want to make sure that you find the right fit for you. And you ask questions. I don't believe there's any harm in asking very intelligent, informative questions to find out what is going to be the best fit for you in residency. And talk to the chief, talk to the upper levels, talk to the interns, talk to everyone, talk to numerous faculty members, and find out what's their why. Why are they teaching in an academic setting? And why are they faculty members of this residency program? And what does it have to offer for them? And then what can it offer to you? And so I encourage any medical student to do that during their path to residency.
So walk us through your transition into academic medicine. How did you become interested in academia, and were there any experiences that led you to pursue this avenue of medicine?
So one thing I encourage for physicians is to truly take students. I can't tell you enough. A lot of physicians have the perception. Perception is reality. It's what you believe to be true. It may not be the real truth, but it's what you believe to be true. And so they believe that, oh, students are going to hold me back from being as productive, or students are going to take too much time to where I'm not able to have too many other things to do. The reality is, take students. Students will benefit you in more ways than you can imagine. Students are going to challenge you. Students are going to ask very intelligent questions. Students are going to keep you up to date on reading journals and staying up to date with the medical literature. Students are going to inspire you with their energy and enthusiasm and passion. And so I was taking students from VCOM when I was in my private practice, again, owned by the hospital, and I had 4 other partners. And when I was taking those students, I was just motivated to want to be continually at my best. They would ask good questions, and I wanted to always have answers for them, and I wanted to always stay up to date. And so then when the school came into town, I really didn't think anything of it. I just thought, well, I'm going to just keep taking their students, because I was taking them from Virginia. They were having some students down in South Carolina from the Virginia campus. When the school moved into South Carolina, I received a phone call asking if I would consider applying for the chair of family medicine, the discipline chair of that aspect of medicine. And I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I said, yeah, I'd like to do this. And so because I enjoyed the students so much. And so when I applied for it and I was blessed to receive the offer, then I worked in that aspect for 2 half days a week. And that was just so you could work a full Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then you work a half day, Tuesday, Thursday. And then I eventually moved to 2 full days a week. And I did that for 3.5 years as the discipline chair of family medicine. I was asked to become the associate dean of clinical affairs. And so that's for the 3rd and 4th year experiences. And I had to commit a little bit more time, but was still in my practice. And I just thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of it. And so that's what really got me into the academics was, again, 1, starting with just precepting students and taking them into my office. 2 was taking an opportunity when it presented itself and tried to, again, I'm going back to that saying, but I just truly believe in it, Matthew, is that if you bloom where you're planted, and what I mean by that is when I was a physician full-time out in private practice, I wanted to be the best version of myself doing that. I want to be the best physician to my patients. I want to take care of the awesome responsibility that I have with their health and well-being. And then when I became the associate dean, I wanted to also bloom and be the best version of a chair that I could be, and do research and talk to people and read some more and look at yourself and how can I be at my best doing this. And then after 3.5 years, I given the opportunity to be the associate dean, what do I need to do to be the best at doing this? Someone has to be the best. Why not you? Why not the school you're associated with? Why not the institution of the medical practice you're associated with? Continue to strive for excellence and maintain integrity and make sure you're showing people that you care. But doing all of that together, and then I was very humbly asked to consider applying for a dean position. And again, I took time talking to my wife about it, took time talking to family, had to consider what that meant to my practice. And then I decided, yes, I want to do this because of, as I've shared before, the energy and enthusiasm and the passion of the students. And I want our students to have the best medical education experience possible. I want to provide them with that, and I want our faculty to do the same. And so it's going back to that same motto that some people will just chuckle at, but I do believe that if you, okay, what can I do to be the best at this? I may not be the best dean, but if I can be the best for my students, what do my students need? What do my faculty need? What do my staff need? When I say my, I mean our staff, our faculty, VCOM as a whole, those that, I'm responsible for their being supervising them, then how can I be the best for them? And that may not translate to being, but for overall the best, but it's for those people that are entrusted to me and those that I want to take care of in a professional manner, then I invest in them. And that's how I have had these opportunities come available. And that's what I want to continue doing is You were successful before. How can you better your best? How can you do something even better? What do I need to do to continue to improve? What is the next step, the next goal, the next challenge? I say to students a lot, don't let your highs be too high or your lows be too low. If you had a poor performance on a test, acknowledge it, see what you did to mess up, try to fix that and move on. If you performed exceptional, you got 100 on something, enjoy it for a while it lasts. Now let's on to the next task, on to the next goal. You don't sulk or look behind you. It's a windshield mentality. I want you to keep looking through the rearview mirror of what just happened before. I want you to look ahead and say, what can I do next? How can I continue to be at my best? That's the mentality that I've had for myself and I have for my students and faculty and staff.
Dr. Cannon, I feel like you're one phenomenal dean, and it's amazing to see not only your exemplary, service through leadership and, you're on taking to in your path to becoming a dean. But it's really nice to hear you say that advice to your students and really kind of live out that motto. That's something phenomenal. And so to wrap up this whole, amazing conversation, I wanted to hit you with the grand finale question and something that we ask all of our interviewees here at the podcast. And that is, what was the best piece of advice that you got throughout your education? And this can be from something from growing up, whether it be in college, medical school, or residency, that you always thought of and you would want to pass on to your students.
So if my students are listening to this and they've heard this already, and they can probably already predict what I'm going to tell you, but it's something that I believe in, and it's something that I experienced, again, as you were saying, through medical school, through residency, and then into practice. And it's the 3 A's. This isn't something I came up with. This is something I heard, but I believe in those. That was shared with me and was asked of me when I was a medical student and when I was a resident. And that is, be affable, be available, and be able. Be affable, be likable, be someone who can be approached, and people value coming to you. They want to come to you to gain advice. They want to come to you because they trust you. They want to come because they know that you genuinely care about them and you want to make sure that they are achieving the ultimate success. And so be affable. Number 2 is be available. As a physician, I never wanted to be that physician that you can't be found. Oh, you make an appointment with this individual, they can see you by next week, or they're trying to reach you at night. I wanted to be the physician. I very humbly was the one making my calls to my patients for their lab results. I was making the calls to them about their imaging results. I was the one that was calling them back when they had phone call questions. And I wanted to make sure that they knew that I was available in academics. I believe that your dean, your associate deans, your faculty, that they should be available. It's not just that you have office hours from 1 to 4 on a Tuesday. It's that you're going to be available to them. They know that they can come to you for answers as far as the challenges that they're facing. You're going to guide them and direct them in a path that they can trust. And so, but they know where to find you and how to find you. And they know that you're going to be interested in wanting to care for them, be it providing medical care or providing structure and direction in academics. And then the third one is be able. And that means be competent, know your stuff, know your trade, know you've done the work ahead of time so that you have the answers when they're needed. If that's as a physician, you're able to care for that patient. You also know your limitations. If you know yourself and maybe something needs to be referred, you need to refer that. You don't need to be arrogant and try to always say that I'm going to do what's best all the time. Know when to refer, but be able to handle the situations that come your way and be able to provide the best care. If it's academics, you want to know your subject matter, be able to be the leader, to be the expert on that subject so that you can effectively teach your students and to go from there. So those are the 3 A's that I would say. But I also want to throw into students out there is when you have problems, don't just come to your administration or your faculty, your staff with the problem. Come with a problem and at least 1 or 2 solutions. That's something I truly believe it sets apart those students that say, I don't like this, or I'm disappointed in that, or I wish this were different, or this is wrong, or this shouldn't be this way. But you come and you say, I've taken the time to think about this. Here's something that I would like to see potentially changed. And I've thought about it. and given it time and consideration, and here are at least two solutions that I recommend. It may or not be the solutions that are ultimately decided, but to me, it shows to the individual that you're coming to that you're invested. It's not just, I don't like this, I don't like that. It's that I want to be part of the answer, part of the solution. And so by you taking the time, effort, and energy to research it and then to come up with solutions, you're going to be, in my mind, more well received, and you're going to be looked at as, hey, I can work with this person because we have a common goal. We're looking to change for the better, and you're going to get better results that way. So my advice would be to come with solutions to any problems that you have, potential solutions.
Dr. Cannon, that's such a great piece of advice. It's so fantastic to hear that. And I think what's so great about it is that not only does it speak about your character and how great you are, but it really goes to show that this advice could be taken almost in a holistic way, to apply to all walks of a person's life or a student's life, whether it be as a student, an aspiring physician, or professional, or even in the everyday life as an individual. I think those three A's is like a framework. It's a piece of advice, and strong at that, but it's a framework and mindset that we could kind of apply on the day-to-day life to make ourselves the best versions of ourselves. And I can't thank you enough for that piece of advice. It's such a strong grand finale. I think future interviewees will have a tough time with that one, but thank you so much.
Well, Matthew, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for representing the osteopathic profession so well and medical students. And I applaud what you're doing. And I know that you're here with genuine intentions to let people know about osteopathic medicine and what we do. And so kudos to you for the effort that you put in, especially as a busy third year student.
Dr. Cannon, the honor is all mine. It's great. It's always great to have, someone on the podcast, and, a dean at that, and someone such as yourself. Dr. Storch, one of the heads of the podcast, was always talking about a rock star dean, and, we've had a few, and you're definitely adding on to the streak. So thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you for the time and the opportunity.